My husband was very sad when he ended his affair. It's how this woman introduced her story about a man cheating on her. She was very empathetic about this in her video, and this really concerns me for a number of reasons. First of all, why does she even know how sad he was? I don't like that, because that in itself is going to make her feel like she was some sort of second option. Even if he is staying with her, she's going to feel like the default in that situation, as though he only stayed because she found out about it or because they were married, not because he actually wanted to. And I can already sense in her story that she ended up competing for his affections, as you naturally would in that type of situation. Now she doesn't have time to really feel her feelings. Instead, she's worried about him maybe choosing to leave her because he's so miserable, right? So what do you do in that situation? You start competing for their love, for their affection, which if she wasn't codependent before would definitely be activated now. Now you're putting your needs aside, which is her legitimate pain in the situation, aside in order to keep the relationship going and essentially keep him on side. This situation would also activate an anxious attachment style, because instead of taking the time to grieve and get space from the situation so you could really figure out what you wanted to do and how you felt and whether you even wanted the relationship to continue, you are now focused again on keeping that relationship going and keeping that person essentially clinging to the situation, because even though he betrayed you, you don't want to lose out entirely, right? And this is all unhealthy. So what I hear from that story is not only did he cheat on her, but also the dynamic around her healing was also very toxic. The second thing that bothers me about his sadness and her being so acutely aware of the sadness that she made a video about it is that it centers him and his feelings in the situation. And you might be thinking, well, everybody needs to be heard in order to heal and grow. That's fine. But in order for the person who has been betrayed to heal, it is essential that the betrayer in that situation provides consistent safety, which grieving an ex that you weren't supposed to be with in the first place doesn't provide. It is also essential that the target's pain be centered in that situation. Yet it seems as though it was his pain that was the focal point in that situation. So he cheated, and instead of creating safety for her, he grieved the loss of the person he cheated with in the face of the person that he cheated on, centering his own feelings instead of hers. So the situation was already toxic because he cheated, but then it was further traumatizing because instead of giving her the space and the provisions that she needed to heal, everything was centered around him, creating further trauma instead of healing. That is why that story time was so disturbing to me, because even as she makes this video, she still hasn't been heard and she still hasn't been catered to in the way that she would need to in order to truly heal. And I just wanted to do this video to emphasize that just because you can make a situation work doesn't mean you should. A lot of the time as women, when we're considering whether we should stay in a relationship or go, the main thought process is whether they'll cheat on you again, right? Whether you would ever be able to trust them again. But something I want to add to that is whether they are equipped or in any way able to give you what you need to actually heal from that in a healthy way. Or whether you're going to end up being further traumatized trying to heal from the trauma that they've already caused. This is what I would like us as women to consider more if ever faced with a decision such as this. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments. And stay woke. No woman left behind.